Okay, so you're here listening because you want real actionable stuff,
Hey.
valuable insights you can actually use to grow your business. We
Yeah.
all want that. And today we're going deep on something that I think is at the core of it all. Building a business you actually feel good about, where
Yeah.
you're confident, you're clear on your path, and you're actually taking consistent action. And how to get out of that feeling of being stuck, that resistance, and find that flow state everyone talks about.
Yeah, for sure. People are busy. Your time is valuable. And I think that's why we do these deep dives to
Yeah.
get to the real meat of things. Today, we're looking at, well, an entrepreneur who's built 3 successful businesses since 2009 and worked with thousands of others. So this is real world stuff. Over 16 years of experience, in the thick of it.
Yeah, and I love how this perspective really breaks down this like massive idea of building a business,
Yeah.
right? It feels so overwhelming. But it really comes down to 4 key things. We need to first think about getting people to our online spaces, our website, social media offers, and they need to be the right people, right?
Yeah.
Not just anyone. Then we need to figure out how to turn those visitors into qualified leads. And then, well, the big one, how to turn those leads into actual paying clients. And then, of course, keeping those clients coming back for more.
And the really interesting thing, and what I think you'll get a lot out of, is that all of this needs to happen in a certain way. It's not about pushing and forcing things to happen, but finding that, I guess the source calls it a flow state. Being in alignment, it's like finding that natural and authentic way of working. Because when it feels good and you're enjoying the process, that's when the real magic happens. That's how you build something that lasts.
Okay, so let's dig into this whole resistance and flow thing.
Yeah.
This source talks about entrepreneurship in a way I've never really heard before. It's like spiritual, right? They call it a mind purification process. What does that actually mean, like in a practical sense, for someone who's trying to build a business?
Well, it's like this. Entrepreneurship is hard, right? We all know that. And all these challenges and obstacles we face, they have a way of bringing out all those, those deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs we carry around, like that feeling of resistance you get when you know you need to reach out to clients or create content, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. It's like you're stuck. And the source says this often comes from these, beliefs of limitation that we have in our subconscious, like imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah, totally. Those thoughts can feel so real, so powerful. But if I'm understanding this right, what they're saying is that those feelings aren't actually true. They're not who we really are. This source keeps emphasizing that we are, at our core, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. So all that negative stuff, all that resistance is just blocking that truth from shining through.
Exactly. And to really see how this works in the real world, the source actually shares a really personal story. He talks about how even though he's an expert in speed reading, he's taught it for years, he used to get really bad anxiety before leading workshops for iris reading. It was that classic imposter syndrome, even though he was totally qualified. But here's the cool part. He didn't try to force the anxiety away. He just kept showing up, kept teaching. And over time, with that repetition, the anxiety started to transform into excitement. It literally shifted.
Yeah.
The resistance just melted away.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think so many people listening can relate to that, right? You feel pulled between like the security of a 9-to-5 job and that desire to build something of your own. And that hesitation, that fear of putting yourself out there. That's the resistance talking. But the point is, it's not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's just something you need to work through.
Right. It's not about being fearless. It's about understanding what's happening and moving forward anyway. And the source really stresses that this isn't like an overnight thing. It's a gradual shift, sometimes a pretty radical shift, in how you see yourself, in your identity. It's about aligning your personal identity, those old beliefs, with your true self.
So letting go of the limitations and bringing your whole authentic self to the table. The source even says, be you, to experience a flow-based journey. That makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Think about all the energy we waste trying to be someone we're not. That alone creates so much resistance.
For sure, it takes so much work. And another big part of reducing that resistance is learning to let go of being so attached to specific outcomes, like, having to hit a certain income level by a certain date. That kind of attachment just creates so much pressure, and that pressure just fuels the resistance.
This next point really changed things for me. Reframing failure. Instead of seeing it as this awful thing, this endpoint, The source talks about it as optimization data collection. Just that shift in thinking is so freeing.
Totally. Every action you take, whether it's connecting with a potential client or putting out a blog post or having a sales call, it's all giving you information, right? You're learning what works and what doesn't. And then you can use that data to get better, to refine your approach. Maybe you can automate some things, delegate others, even get rid of whole strategies that aren't working. It's all about optimizing.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about constant improvement. And I think that's a really important point the source makes. You don't need to optimize everything to the max. It's about building a business that supports the life you want. And that's going to be different for everyone.
Right. It's about finding your own definition of success and to keep moving in that direction. The source talks about daily self-concept recalibration. It's like actively shifting your beliefs about yourself, every day, reminding yourself of what you're capable of.
So it's like a mental reset.
Yeah.
And the power comes from that consistency, right? From consistently showing up, taking action in those 4 key areas. The more you do that, the weaker those old limiting beliefs become. And then flow starts to feel like the norm.
Yeah, like anything you practice, like learning a language. At first, it's all awkward and clunky, but if you do it every day, it becomes more and more natural. Same thing with finding that flow state in your business.
So let's actually get into the specifics of how this works in those 4 areas, starting with getting those qualified visitors. The source gives some really great examples from his own experience. Content marketing is a big one, right? Creating high-quality content that's actually useful, that's optimized for search engines. He even mentions his early YouTube videos where he talked about books he found helpful. What's the main takeaway here for someone listening?
It's about going beyond just throwing information out there. You have to really think about your audience, what they actually need. And the most valuable content comes from sharing your own experiences, your unique insights and perspectives. That's how you build real connection.
Totally. And then there are partnerships and collaborations. The example of the Iris reading workshops and those joint programs is a great one. It shows how everyone benefits, and you can even share revenue, get creative with it. And then he talks about the partnership with Ace Reader for those back-end upsells. That's like thinking ahead. What makes partnerships like that so effective?
It's about leverage, right? When you partner with someone, you're tapping into their audience and they're tapping into yours. So you can expand your reach way beyond what you could do on your own. And because you're both aligned, you have similar values, you're attracting the right kind of people. And honestly, it's just more fun working together.
Makes it more sustainable too.
Yeah.
And then there's email marketing. Good old email. The source talks about how offering something valuable for free, like that mind map download, helped him build his email list. Over 15,000 people. That's huge. Why is that so important?
Because then you have a direct line of communication with people who actually want to hear from you. They've raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested. So you can build those relationships, send them valuable stuff, guide them further down the path, It's about building a real community.
Right. It's not just about making a sale. It's about building something bigger. And then, of course, there are those online groups and communities like Facebook groups where people can connect. And that's, again, all about relationships. The source really emphasizes that, right? Building relationships is at the core of everything.
It's the foundation. In the end, it's all about connecting with people, not just getting clicks or views, but actually connecting with people who are really going to benefit from what you do.
Okay, so let's say you've done all that. You're getting those qualified visitors. They're becoming leads. Great. Now, how do we actually turn them into paying clients? That's the big question. And the source says we need to reach out to those leads, give them offers, through email, maybe a Zoom call, even use tools like Calendly so they can schedule something easily. What makes those outreach efforts actually work?
You have to give, give, give. It's all about providing value even in your outreach. Make it super easy for them to take the next step. Clear calls to action, simple scheduling options, and really show them that you get them, you understand their needs.
Right. You have to make it a no-brainer for them. And he talks about using automated email sequences too, where you're providing value over time before you ever even ask for the sale. What's the benefit of that?
Well, it's all about nurturing the relationship, right? When you're constantly sending good content, helpful insights, it builds trust. You're showing them you're the expert, you can help them even before you ask for anything in return. And then when you do make an offer, they're ready.
It's like warming them up. Okay, so then we get to the part where we need to show people that we're the real deal, right? We need proof.
Right.
That's where testimonials come in and reviews and all those credentials. But the source, he does something really interesting. He creates these mini documentaries with his clients. He calls them case studies. And they're not just short sound bites. They're these in-depth conversations where you really see the results his clients have gotten and how much they enjoyed the process. He even films them in all these interesting locations, like driving in a car or walking on the beach. It's super authentic. Why do you think that works so well?
Because people connect with stories. And these aren't just saying, oh, yeah, it's great. It's like you're getting a glimpse into the whole journey. And when potential clients see that, they can imagine themselves getting those same results. It builds trust.
So it's not just about logic. It's about emotion. And then you need to tell people what you want them to do, right? Give them those call to actions on your website, in your emails, everywhere. Make it super clear. The source actually shares a story about getting a coaching client just by sending an email saying he had a few new spots open. Sometimes it's really that simple. Just put it out there.
Exactly. And that takes us right back to overcoming that resistance, right? A lot of times we hold ourselves back from just like making the offer because we're afraid. But if you can work through that, you can just put it out there and see what happens.
Okay, last thing. Keeping those clients coming back for more. This is where all that hard work pays off, right? You've built those relationships. Now it's about deepening them. And the source talks about so many different ways to do this, creating new products and services, partnering with other businesses, becoming an affiliate. What's the big idea here, though?
It's about providing more value. Always be thinking about what else you can offer, not just to make more money, but to really help your clients succeed. The more you give them, the more loyal they'll be.
It's a win-win. And he talks about offering ongoing support, education, even free upgrades when he updates his programs. That's amazing. And then there are all the different ways to keep in touch. Emails, webinars, online groups, even personal check-ins. It's about staying top of mind.
And he actually talks about hosting events, too, like those events he did in New York and LA with his client, Danielle Lynn. That's such a great way to bring people together and connect on a deeper level.
It's about going beyond the screen, right? So if we look at all four of these key areas, getting those qualified visitors, nurturing them into leads, turning them into paying clients, and then keeping those clients coming back, it all comes down to this idea of moving from resistance to flow, right? It's not about battling those negative thoughts and fears, but understanding them, working through them, and finding that natural, authentic way of working.
The key is realizing that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to show up, do the work, and keep learning and growing. That's where the real value lies.
So as you're listening to this, think about where you're feeling that resistance in your own business. And what's one small step you can take today to start moving towards that flow state? And if you want to go deeper on all this, check out the episode description. There's a link to a mind map that lays out all the key strategies we talked about. And we always love hearing from you. Send in your questions, your struggles, what you want to learn more about. Maybe your question will be the focus of our next deep dive.
Remember, you have something truly valuable to offer the world. And when you can let go of that resistance, that's when you can really shine. Keep cultivating that flow and you'll get there.